guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Anna Sophia if you're new here, and if you are new, please consider subscribing. My husband and I are a military family who recently bought a house and moved from Scottsdale, Arizona to Washington, D.C. Come along with us as we decorate, organize, DIY, and deep clean this new house on a budget in the series From House to Home. If you've been following me since my very first video back in March, you'll know that this room was actually the very first room I did on my channel. But as my son began crawling and walking, the whole design of this room needed to change because everything became really dangerous. Like things that I didn't even think that would be an issue became super dangerous. So in this video, I'm gonna share with you my 10 Holy Grail baby proofing tips, but don't worry, for my DIY followers, I have so many DIYs that I made on such a tight budget that you can incorporate in any room, whether you have kids or not. The first tip, and probably the saddest thing that had to go, was keeping my plants on the floor. My son was really into breaking off the leaves and eating the dirt, which was obviously not okay. But I still really wanted to put plants in this corner because it gets such good light. So I did order this one hanging plant off of Amazon. I'll make sure everything that I discuss, I'll link in my description. But I really was inspired by this round wood shelf I saw in West Elm, retailing for $100, but I'm gonna show you how I made this for only $1. All you need is one hula hoop from Dollar Tree, a piece of scrap wood, and some wooden dowels. The first step in this DIY is to just peel that sticker off of the hula hoop. This hula hoop came from Dollar Tree, so it's not like super difficult to get off. It probably took about 5 minutes altogether. And then after that's all removed, I just wanted to take the beads out, and I did so just opening the hula hoop at its seam, and then you can close it right back up. Then after that, I just wanted to hot glue the ends together just to give it a really secure hold, and then just wipe off the excess so it was nice and flush. Then I measured the end of the wooden piece and found the center because that's where I'm going to need to drill a hole to connect it to the hoop. Now my husband is just marking on the hula hoop where the dowel is going to connect from the hoop to the shelf. And now we're just actually drilling the holes in, and this was actually really easy. It just popped right through. And just before I spray paint or stain anything, I just want to make sure everything is fitting appropriately before I secure everything down. And it passed its fit test, so that's great. So now I'm just gonna secure everything with some hot glue. So I'm just dabbing a little bit of hot glue in the holes that I've drilled and then adding my little dowel. And now it's just time for some stain. I'm using this one by Varathane, and it is in a special walnut. It's the one I use for pretty much everything. And then for the hula hoop, I just spray painted it using a matte farmhouse black spray paint. So now I'm just gonna hot glue the inside of the holes to connect my dowels to the actual hoop itself. If you want something a little bit more secure, this hot glue was actually super secure, but if you want something a little bit more secure, I would recommend using some E6000. And I'm just gonna remove the label from this old jar that I have, and I'm actually going to propagate some of my pothos leaves. This DIY was totally a win-win because my baby is safe. He's not able to reach this. He can't eat dirt anymore, which is great. But I also get to keep plants in my corner. And guess what? It only cost me $1, so you can't beat that. Definitely recommend this, parent approved. The second tip is a really easy one, and I know people have said it a million times before, but probably one of the most transformative and cheapest changes you can make is painting your walls, or in our case, we just wanted to do an accent wall. It only took a few hours and cost about $20, and you can see the major change that it makes, and it's at no risk to my child. And while we're over here on this side of the room, I just wanted to quickly talk about my third tip, which is to make sure everything is bolted back to the wall that could potentially fall on your baby. So many babies every single year get hurt from furniture not being latched onto the wall, so this was definitely a major priority of mine, probably my most important tip. I will link these wall mounts that we used. They work great. I could do it. Anybody could do it. But as for styling the bookshelves with babies or kids, it can be so tricky. As you can see before, we had some framed pictures and some art and like our wedding photo, which was really nice. But if you were to pull that down or throw it on the floor, the glass would shatter and he could get really, really hurt. So my fourth tip, and is actually another DIY, is using, and in our case, making glass-free framed artwork. I was really inspired by Our House. That store is so beautiful, but it's super expensive. But they had this framed wax piece, but I wanted to put my own spin on it. So for this project, you'll need a blank white canvas, some wax from a couple of candles, Mod Podge, and a frame. First, I took my brush and gave the canvas a pretty generous amount of Mod Podge. I wanted it to be tacky, but not like really wet either. And then as the Mod Podge was kind of drying, like just a little bit, I was melting some old candles down. It didn't matter the colors because I knew I was gonna paint it all white anyway. But after I've melted down all those old candles, I'm just gonna pour it all over the wax. You'll wanna make sure that you lay something underneath because obviously it could spill over your canvas and you don't wanna damage your floors or whatever surface you're doing it on. And then just go ahead and put the wax wherever you think it looks good. I just kind of put it all over evenly, and then I just layered and layered and layered until I got the look that I really wanted. So after I painted it white and it dried, I loved how it looked, but I still wanted to add a frame on top of it, obviously not having the glass though. So I was able to just hot glue the corners of the canvas to the glassless frame. And for only a couple of dollars, I was able to make some artwork for my bookshelves that looks really nice, but is most importantly safe for my baby. My fifth tip is related to candles. I just love the ambience you get from a lit candle. And initially we had this little tray on our ottoman and it was really cute. We put a little candle on there, but it became a daily mission for my son to remove this tray and throw it on the floor. So we needed to come up with some sort of solution and a compromise. I was really inspired by these wall shelves I saw on Etsy. You could really put anything you want on these shelves, but I really wanted to put candles because that's obviously what I was missing from my tray. So I really wanted to create something that was pretty similar to what I had seen on Etsy. I ended up using an old shelf that I already had, but obviously you're not gonna have this exact same thing, so you could just use some scrap wood. After my husband Chad cut these pieces down for me, I'm just measuring them and finding out where I need to put the holes to connect the two smaller pieces to the two bigger pieces. And now I'm just gonna take a speed square and mark again because I wanna make sure obviously everything is really symmetrical and the same, and this little tool saves you a ton of time. After marking the placement, I need to just drill my holes into the wood because I didn't want it to split. And I didn't go all the way through as deep as the screw was gonna go through, but just enough to get my screw started. And now I'm just screwing these shelves together. I'm going from the back and through the smaller piece of wood, if that makes sense. You'll see here in a second how this comes together. And now that they are built, it's just time to do a quick coat of white spray paint. If you have chalk paint, this would probably honestly be better, but I didn't have any, so I'm just using what I have. And then after the spray paint had dried, it's time to attach little hardware on the back so I can put it up on my wall. And as you can see, it's high up enough that he definitely couldn't reach it or get hurt, but I still get to keep my candles. My sixth tip is related to baby gates. I cannot tell you how many baby gates we went through before finding one that actually worked for this space. Because of the layout and how the stairs kick out and it's not attached to a wall at the very bottom, this opening was so wide that traditional baby gates just didn't work. I can show you what I mean here in a minute. But until we found this baby gate, I will link it in the description. If you have this similar problem, this is the baby gate that you need. You just twist this little latch and it functions like a key, so it locks and unlocks the retractable gate. If your house looks like this at all, I'm telling you, do yourself a favor and buy this baby gate. And beyond that, it looks nice and it's not really like big and bulky like other baby gates are, and it kind of blends in with our decor. My seventh tip is an oldie but a goodie, outlet covers. Obviously, everybody has the traditional clear outlet covers, and that's fine to go over the majority of outlets that aren't being used all the time. But what about the stuff that has to stay plugged in all the time, like our computers or our security system? So this outlet cover I will link as well because I feel like it's adult proof. It's not the easiest thing to use, but it does keep little fingers from getting into things that are plugged in all the time. My eighth tip is just making sure that when you are styling your bookshelves, anything that your child can reach, if they were to drop it, if they were to grab it, is not going to hurt them. I had this concrete bowl. If he had touched that bowl, it is so freaking heavy. If he had touched that, we'd be making a trip to the ER. But I still love the way bowls look on shelves. I just think it looks really pretty. So I'm gonna show you guys how I made this hydro dipped bowl using Dollar Tree plastic bowls. So I saw these really chic marble bowls on West Elm, but of course they were glass, so that was gonna be a no-go anyway, but I liked the look of it. So I'm gonna show you the easiest DIY ever. These plastic bowls came from the dollar store. You get 4 for $1. So I just took 2 of them, spray painted them white, and once they were dry, I decided I was going to hydro dip them. So all you do is you take about a gallon of water and add whatever colors you want. I did white, black, and a little bit of gold just to the top of the water. And with a kebab stick, I just kind of swirled it around. After that, I dunked the bowls in, let it dry, and these are how they came out. And another DIY I wanted to share with you guys in this section is making some non-breakable pottery. Before on this bookshelf, I had absolutely so many things that would break. And I love the look of ceramics and things like that. It's really pretty and it's a very common thing to style shelves with, but that's not really an option right now. So I'm gonna show you guys what I'm gonna do with some old fabric and some cardboard containers. I was inspired by this blog post I saw on Pinterest. I'll make sure I link it in the description. And all you need for this project is any sort of like old cardboard container or plastic container, some sort of textured fabric, Mod Podge, and a concrete mix. So I just cut the fabric down to the size of the container and I just hot glued that down. And then I just applied a pretty generous amount of Mod Podge over the entire thing and then just kind of dipped off the excess. After I applied a pretty generous amount of that Mod Podge, I just needed to roll it in this concrete mixture. I really wish, if you have cement, use that because I think all concrete mix bags have rocks in them, which is fine, but I just needed to kind of work around that part. After I patted it down pretty well, I just wanted to let it dry for 24 hours so it could harden around the container. After shaking off the excess that just didn't stick, I just wanted to give it a once over with some black spray paint, but not like completely cover it. And I just added some of my baby's blocks in here to discreetly store some of his toys. For my 9th tip, we are just going to talk about adding bumpers to sharp edges of your furniture. I'll link the padding that we use. I think I got it off Amazon. It was pretty inexpensive and you can match it to the color of your furniture. Which brings me to my 10th and final tip, which is to utilize baskets. Baskets are your friend. These ones came from Target and they're all right. I mean, you can get baskets honestly anywhere, but they're great for storing things that you don't necessarily want to see all the time, but it gives my son so much autonomy to choose the toys that he wants to play with while looking neat and clean. I hope you liked this video, and I hope that it gave you some inspiration and faith in knowing that just because you're a mom or dad now, it doesn't mean that your house has to look like a circus. If you liked this video, please make sure you do give it a thumbs up and hit that sub button because I post home decor and DIY content every week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!